All right, so this is going to be finding slash creating a purpose for yourself, right? So with me personally, this started with actually understanding my personal attributes and characteristics, right? Because a lot of the times the problem be we be trying to look at ourselves through the lenses of the world or through how parents saw us, through people that we perceive as figures of authority to direct us on what is considered the right path, but a lot of the time that may be actually the wrong path for us, and we can actually develop a whole new path, start to express things a lot more differently, start to actually lead this whole new movement towards a whole new direction of how we can do things, right? Beyond even just going to school and stuff like that. But a lot of this starts with you knowing yourself and you learning about yourself and your relative position and your series of connected positions. Because you got to remember, right? What's relative to you may not necessarily be relative to someone else. So what's right and what's with that being said, what's right and wrong for me may not be what's right or wrong for someone else. So you gotta take a look at yourself and see what's good for you and what's bad for you, rather than you going based on the starting point of someone else, of how someone else may be looking at you or perceiving you and shit like that. So you got to know yourself. You got to learn a lot about yourself, right? And this could just be like you remembering your childhood. What I recommend is learning about astrology, numerology, tools like that that can actually pinpoint and assist you with using different math systems that are both speculative and operative. Let's say for astrology, for example, right? You start learning about your own subjective space. Your own subjective space would be your moon chakra in astrology. So this would show you how you speculate about things. What do you deal with in your internal space? How do you feel? Do you look at your feelings from a more logical space or from more of an emotional space and stuff like that, right? So for example, I'm a Pisces moon, so I can come up with a lot of wisdom, a lot of imaginations, a lot of meaning and reasonings, fantasies, or sometimes even delusions and stuff like that. But what decide if those things are good or bad is just based on, am I being productive or am I not being productive in the world and shit, right? So we all have attributes and characteristics. We all got certain traits, but we have to learn how to use these things and not let these things use us. And a lot of the times when we do let these things use us, it be based on traumas, based on certain energy blockages, or you might be just be lazy, or you might just be thinking what you're doing is normal based on whatever circumstance you was raised. So let's say, for example, you was raised in a family of bums where being a bum was normal. So you go to the club every day, you go drink every day, you go smoke every day, but you never investing money, you never carrying generational wealth. Now that might be a negative way to carry out your traits. You might just go to the club to talk a lot. You might go to the club to get a lot of attention. You might go to the club for XYZ. We all have our own reason. You might go to the spend a lot of money in the restaurant just because you got some type of emotion and you're really just eating as a coping mechanism, right? So we all develop coping mechanisms and shit like that. So it take a lot of shadow work to realize sometimes how are we negatively using these traits, because sometimes we be using these traits against us, not for us. So we all gonna, so your purpose, as far as your purpose, finding your purpose and stuff like that, you're already doing these things, but you might just be doing these attributes and characteristics on a negative scale versus a positive scale, right? So for example, someone may like to talk a lot. This could be an air sign or some shit like that. This person might spend all the time wasting people's time talking to people that don't even want to be talked to, is because they like to be, they're in that space, they're in that energy, and they might be like, and people might not want to talk to them because they talking so much, they wasting people's time. They're like, man, why don't people want to talk to me? Am I negative? Am I a bad person? Blah 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 blah. But let's say this person with an air sign with the communication energy decide to, let's say, become like a podcaster, or like a news channel, network, whatever, speaker on the weather or whatever. That might be a good, much more productive way to use that attribute and characteristics, right? And sometimes you got to learn to balance those things so you don't overuse these things and you don't not at all use these things. Because when we don't use these attributes, when we don't use our characteristics, a lot of the times you just be like, what, just based on traumas we have developed, energy blockages, certain things that we don't want to express, right? So you have to learn about your own space. Now that's the moon chakra, how you speculate, what you personally see within your own darkness, your yin realm and stuff like that. Now you have a sun chakra as well. So this is your solar plexus. You could be a Virgo like me, for example. The way you act might be very detailed, very strict, very routine oriented, very scheduled. And whenever for me, for example, when those things don't get met, I start to get irritated because my schedules are not being met and shit like that. So now when you learn about your traits, you can learn how to correlate yourself in the world and put yourself in a position, put yourself within a field of potential that actually assists you to use that trait better, right? Because you might be a very creative person and you might go into, like, I don't know, because all these things are on percentage levels, right? Let's say you're a very creative person and you go into like some very anal retentive, you have to pay attention all the time, and but you like to daydream, right? That would not be a very positive field of potential for you to play out. But if you're a very creative person and you go into theater, music, and all these things have degrees of logic and degrees of creativity. But when you look at your own chart, when you look at your own energy, you got to see, okay, in what space can I put that energy, and where can it play out much more better, right? And a lot of the times, depending on what type of spirit you is in a body, you already have had, life experiences before this one, right? If you depending on if you're a new spirit or an old spirit or shit like that. So if you're an old spirit, you develop a lot of experiences, and you kind of was like already on a certain path that you set your mind towards. Now you got to observe in this lifetime. Okay, the path I created, is it a holistic path? Is it putting me on more negative situations on a percentage level, or is it on a positive path on a percentage level? And if you're already on a positive path, then you just want to keep doing what you're doing, because you're already like an airplane on the runway, taking off slowly and surely, into a different atmosphere, to the point that you actually start to become the eagle, and you start to observe things from outside, looking in. You start to look down on everything, so you see everything that's going on and shit like that. Now, if you're a new spirit, you might just need to develop more experiences, go through more situations to develop more awarenesses about the world and stuff like that. Because this is what we all do as spirits in the body. We expand and contract, so we can actually grow bigger and stuff like that. So finding your purpose might goes beyond certain things, right? It goes beyond the geographical locations, right? Because based on whatever geographical location you're in, you might be told, based on the program that's ran subconsciously, that most people are not aware of in that geographical location. You might come from a very religious area that's very strictful, that might not necessarily accept new religious point of views or new philosophical point of views based on what's already been programmed when it comes to people and shit like that, as far as what they're accepting and not accepting towards. AKA, this is the idea of what's right or wrong. So you might even have to like switch locations and stuff like that. You might want to express, you might want to be more liberal in your views, so you decide to move to the West, or you might want to experience more of a stricter lifestyle based on you being in the West for too long, being too liberalized and shit like that. Because people in the West, for example, is extremely lost in their sexual organs and stuff like that, and they may not use it responsibly. Whereas the people in the East, they tend to use their sexual organs in a lot more responsible way. But at the same time, though, there's no right or wrong. You see what I'm saying? It's just what we do with these chakras. There's no right or wrong with how you use your brain. It's just kind of what you do with it. And as you create experiences in your life, you're learning new and better ways to go about these things rather than what's going on around you, right? Because really, and see, it's like you can learn about yourself, you can have self knowledge and all that, but at the end of the day, you're gonna have to take these relative positions that's inside of you, and actually, create some type of external circumstance that you play out, that that's just naturally in your energy, that's naturally in your favor and stuff like that. Because you don't want to swim against yourself, and then you pissed off, you tired, you sad, and you don't know why. Yeah, because you're doing something that's not meant for you. Whatever is meant for you, it's meant for you, and you got to look at these thoughts and feelings that constantly keep coming back to you. Now, a lot of these things we may have been conditioned into via trauma induced control, just via like based on the geographical location we're in, based on the people that we're around, thinking like, yeah, this is the right thing that you should do. So they might be very righteous about that ideal and installing it in you. You might have grown up in that, and you might think that's what you need to do to go to a heavenly space. But all a heavenly space is, it's just something that makes your spirit feel lighter, have more fun, more energetic and stuff like that. Where you're like just in your own palace mentally and stuff like that, but you're playing that externally. And a more holistic space is just something that's making your spirit more denser and more denser, more holistic, to the point that you just keep being in dull, old, outdated energy. You're like the snake or Ouroboros, biting its tail again and again, and you're just playing out the same circumstance, the same situation. You might be dealing with a narcissist in your life. You might be dealing with an abusive mother and father in your life. See, but if you keep accepting what's being done to you, you're gonna stay in that circumstance, regardless of what you think is right or wrong. This could be a religion that's keeping you at a certain mentality, putting a firmament over your head so you don't fly like an eagle and look beyond those stuff and stuff like that. Because you gotta understand, we all develop concepts on how to go about things, right? And let's say, for example, you say you find your purpose in music, right? And you become the best artist, best rapper alive and stuff like that. Just based on you having your own template, having your own blueprint, and validating yourself. That alone can become a new system that you can sell to people, share with people, market to people, on how you became the best rapper alive and what problems you dealt with to get to that point. Because yeah, for you to develop your purpose and develop your attributes and develop your characteristics, you're gonna have to swim through some type of resistance in your life. So it's not gonna be easy. Like, oh yeah, I'm a Pisces moon. I'm a Libra sun. I'm a light past six. Boom, 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 boom. This is what I gotta do. Like, you gotta spend time in remember, not even remember, because you trying to remember yourself. Because when I'm telling you the whole thing about trauma induced mind control, that shit's real. Because people will literally traumatize you unknowingly based on them thinking this is what's right for you, and if you don't go in this direction, automatically like you in opposition, you as Satan and stuff like that. While let's see, when it comes to the holy wars for Christians versus Muslims, right? A lot of those soldiers that died in those wars believed they was going to go to heaven. A lot of those Christians, those Catholics, those Crusaders that were going to war believed that they was going to heaven. But like J. Cole says, heaven is a state of mind. And I don't want to sit here and necessarily tell people to conflate philosophical point of views between J. Cole, Jesus, and Muhammad. That's not necessarily what I'm trying to do. What I'm telling you is heaven is a state of mind that you create and stuff like that. So some female might decide that her life purpose is to be a stripper, but she created that. She might be a Scorpio or whatever like that, and who knows? That might make her feel lighter. That make her feel more free and stuff. Because none of these things is right or wrong. See, like Muslims in the East, for example, will make a woman wear a burqa, abaya, hide her whole body. Men in the West, for example, might not necessarily care about that. Might be open about a stripper, doing her thing on a dance floor, and that might be cool to them. So that's seen as right in the Middle East, and that's seen as right in the West. So it's not right or wrong, either or. It's just what do you want to do as far as a man and woman and be productive with on earth. So not only your spirit become lighter and go to heaven, because heaven is not no heaven is just a state of mind that you create. If you create a state of mind that's more hellistic, you go through more trials and tribulation on a percentage level, then that lets you know you're in hell. But if you create a mind state, a mentality that takes you through more heavenly circumstances, let's say you can forgive your mistakes easily versus a person who doesn't forgive themselves for their mistake, that person is going to be more holistic on a percentage level, especially if they're seeking the approval of an external deity. And the person that, forgive themselves is going to be more lighter in terms of their mind, because their mind, their space is going to be more free to do more things just based on them having that virtue, that character of forgiving themselves. But see, these are things that you might even need to learn about just based on other people in your environment not introducing you to that concept that, hey, you can introduce yourself and you can forgive yourself. You don't have to necessarily spend time thinking that, oh, all these things is your fault and you're going to be guilty about it. Now, whatever energy you put in, you at the end of the day, you just reap what you sow. But at the same time, though, it's up to you to decide what you do with this mind so you don't spend time in a lot of things. Like the shadow government people that run the world, they be doing all types of heinous, hideous shit. But that they don't look at it like, oh, we're guilty. They don't look at it like, oh, God is gonna punish them. No, they have like a different way of dealing with those circumstances and situations whenever they're conducting it or going about that. So that lets you know whatever point of view, whatever lenses that you may have developed growing up may actually be too small to take you to whatever point that you're trying to go to. And it's not about being a superstar. It's not about being the next greatest pastor. It's not about being the next greatest preacher. It's just about developing a purpose for yourself so you can feel satisfied, so you can feel lighter, so you can feel happier and shit like that. So really look at your attributes and characteristics and understand this as well. A lot of the things that you probably was maybe shamed for when you was younger, told not to do, these are probably the things that you're supposed to do, because these things are the same things, because they just might be a lower octave way of doing it sometimes, and we might need to understand how to do this in a higher octave where it's productive and useful. Like you might have a lot of water in your chart, let's say, right? You might have been perceived as a crybaby or like an emotional child and shit like that, right? But if you can take that water and you can do it in that emotions, and you can direct that towards something else, you might be able to reap benefits, certain things, and then you might convince the people around you, damn, I, I didn't know you could do that with emotions and shit. Damn, that seemed pretty cool. Let me get in my emotions and stuff like that. Let me unblock my heart chakra and shit like that. Because the other person outside it might be very logical, very practical, and stuff like that. So you need to understand, we all come from different spaces, different relative points of views, but whatever relative point of view a person has outside of you may not be good for you. So you need to understand how to value yourself. See, that's something that people gotta learn too. How to value themselves, how to value their attributes, their characteristics, their aspects, so they can keep building towards their purpose, right? Because when you was a child, you was probably already building a building, already trying to figure out your mind and how it works and playing that out externally via things that you like. But someone might just, you might stop halfway based on some trauma induced mind control type shit. And you might just stop playing that out. But that becomes very negative because now you block your own energies, and now you're not manifesting, and you think that you need to play out, go to a job, go to a college, or practice certain rituals, religious practices and shit, so you can manifest in your life. But while in reality, if you just understood your own attributes, your own characteristics, what's your own space is composed of and stuff like that, then you'd be able to use your own these astral energies that you use mentally as an observer to create circumstances externally and internally in terms of thoughts and feelings. You get into mind alchemy and stuff like that, and just create life for yourself. Because whatever you create in your mind, that's what's gonna be played out externally. So if you're an extremely frustrated person, in that energy you sit in that frustration, you're gonna be playing out the energy externally, being frustrated, frustrated at people, frustrated at just shit. Whereas if you're a very peaceful person, you might play out the energy externally, just being peaceful. And damn, this person is so at peace. This person is so peaceful, and that might be the higher octave energy. And people might look at you like, damn, why is this person always so calm? Why is this person so peaceful? And you might be going through like the worst circumstances ever, but going through those resistances, going through those tough situations, made you realize, hey, the observer determines what is observed. So you start not to observe the bad. You start to find the silver lining. Start to observe what's good in the situation, and that make you automatically a way more aware and way more developed spirit, because you're responsible for what you do with your mind at the end of the day, and you got to be accountable for every thought, every feeling, every space that you go into physically, group of friends, associates, and stuff like that. Because people are not heading in the direction that you're headed, and chances are, if you're an awakened individual and you've come to terms with the fact that the whole world is asleep, and you might be one of the only people actually perceiving and aware of those things and accepting those things as they are, you might be, seen as like alone or stuff like that. So you might need to find or start to develop your soul group, your soul tribe, the people that understand where you're coming from, and you all get together and build. Because that's what all religious people did throughout history. Beyond the Abrahamic religions, that's what all entertainers did in history. That's what all musicians did. Man, that's what everyone does with the gilding energy, so we can get together and build and stuff like that. Real stuff. So real stuff. Start to understand yourself, learn about yourself. Don't let people shame you and embarrass you about who you are and how you think and stuff like that. And start to go through experiences and stuff like that, so you can start to see where is the best place that's suited for your energies, because really your energies can play out in so many different positions. You might become some type of polymath, even mixing both creativity and logic and making something entirely new on the earth. So it's up to you to actually do that and decide how far you want to go. So because you want to be satisfied, you want to be happy, you want to be in your you want to be in your good energies. You don't want to be in no bad negative spirits and stuff like that. So real shit. That was finding your purpose and creating your purpose for yourself based on understanding your own energy, your own alchemy, and taking that from a low octave traumatized induced mind control level to a godly space where you're actually dealing with your internal thoughts and feelings, so you can mix up some new mind alchemy, so you can start to actually live the life that you dream of, the lifestyle that you want to create. That's naturally not a distant dream. It's really just something that you're viewing based on the speculative realm, which is just the realm of money possibilities, but it may not be brought here to density. But I'm telling you right now, if you can perceive it in your mind, that you can do it. So if you're thinking and feeling you can be a rapper, yeah, it's a possibility. If you're thinking and feeling you can draw and be a good artist, yeah, it's a possibility. If you're thinking and feeling that, hey, you can go to school and be a good, not even go to school or just learn mathematics on your own, then yeah, that's a possibility. I'm telling you, whatever in your mind you think is possible, it's possible. But you got to play it out and go through the situations and not be afraid to get to that space. So you might be the new example, the new template on what's right or wrong, or how things should be done from that particular space. So you can be an example for the whole world, and you can show people new possibilities, aka God. Real fucking shit.